Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Bad Batch. This is episode 11, and this one was a really good one in my opinion. It showed a lot, so there wasn't a lot of huge action scenes, but I thought overall it was a great storytelling episode in my opinion. So there are some spoilers ahead, so if you have not seen it yet, obviously pause the video and then come back and hear what I have to say after you've watched it. But for now, let's get right into it. So it starts off with a stormtrooper on a ship that apparently has crash landed, and inside a creature has been released and takes out the stormtrooper. That's kind of how that goes. And then what we see is the Bad Batch talking to Sid, basically not happy with what Sid did, or shall I say, not do, in the sense of help them escape the planet. And Sid's like, well, you got off by yourself, and you got your ship, so everything's square. And they're like, no, we needed you, and you did nothing. And so Sid's like, well, I got this great offer for you guys, and I'll give you 30%. And Tech goes, 30% is our normal. All right, I'll go 35. And they're just looking at her and they're like, fine, fine, fine. She's like, fine, I'll give you more. So apparently they've been wanting to get away from Sid, especially after what has happened. And Tech explains to them that it might not be a good idea to just cut ties willy nilly. We should probably do one last big mission for her and then back away. At least that way we end on good terms. So mostly because they're worried about Sid ratting them out, which is very much understandable, especially from what Sid's been capable of in the past. So she doesn't give them much information. She gives them a location and that it was a ship that crash landed on this particular planet, and it was because of a village that was nearby, which was why it was reported so quickly. While this is going on, the Bad Batch goes in and starts to goes to the planet and gets onto the ship. The Bad Batch splits up. I believe it is. Oh no, it was Wrecker, Hunter, and Omega together, and Tech went to the main bridge to kind of get more information on what was going on inside the ship. As time was going on, they find out exactly what was going on. In fact, if I remember correctly, at one point Omega goes with Tech because they find clone technology there. And this is a big key in this whole thing. So what happens is they find clone technology and Omega's very surprised, and it's apparently much more advanced than the stuff that was on Kamino. And she makes that very clear. This is beyond what she's ever seen before. And what happens is they find the creature that caused all the damage to the ship. And it's a creature that actually absorbs energy, and the more energy it absorbs, the stronger it, or I shouldn't say stronger, but the larger it becomes. So this creature is about, I want to say about the size of Wrecker is the best way to put it right now at this point in time. As it starts eating away at the energy, it starts to get bigger and bigger, bigger. As time goes on, they're now trying to stop this creature. So Wrecker and Hunter get on their ship and start trying to blast it to knock it out so it stops absorbing so much energy, especially from the ship. While Tech and Omega are trying to get as much information as possible. Apparently, what they had found out was they, meaning the Empire, was trying to recalculate or redo the clone technology and use specific creatures as their own weapon. So this one in particular to be used to absorb the energy of opponent ships and technically all planets, one by one, and take them out one by one, and then go in and sweep out the damage. So what happens is the Empire finds out what's going on, or at least finds out about their ship, and goes in and tries to take it out. What happens is they find Wrecker and Hunter in the ship, and they try to take it out. Tech and Omega get back on the ship, and they take off, unable to get much information from the ship. The Empire takes down the creature, knocks it down with some sort of device, and brings it onto its ship. And what happens is the Bad Batch slips away. They get away, and they send all available information to Echo and Rex, because they clearly know that there's been some big issues with the clones. Now, there's another piece to this episode that I want to get into that I wanted to keep separate, mostly because I don't want to keep going back and forth. It gets very confusing at times. But anyway, the Empire, on the other hand, knows that the ship was crashed, and they are trying to get the head scientist from Camino to join the Empire in helping with their clone project. And she basically says, "I know what you're trying to do, and I'm out." And the head scientist in general is like, "No, you really want to be a part of this. Don't you want to see your research go to the far beyonds of what it was capable of?" She's like, "I know what the Emperor wants. I'm not helping. He can do it himself." And she basically does all that and says nothing. So what they do is they leave, and the scientist goes, "Is there anybody left from her planet?" And they said the only one that they're aware of is the former prime minister of the planet. So they take the former prime minister and bring him onto their hideout slash base, whatever you want to call it. And this scientist comes up to them and basically states that, we're looking for you. And he's like, "Well, what do you want me for? Because clearly you need something from me, or else you wouldn't waste your time coming to get me." And he explains that the scientist has had no reason to want to help. "Do you have any ideas on how to get her to do what we want?" And he states that there's a clone, specifically a young girl, that if you got her, then she would be more willing to actually help. And that's when the head scientist goes, "Then we're going to go inside and talk in more detail," and brings them inside and is about to talk with them. While this is going on, he gets word that they'd recaptured the creature and the fact that there was another ship that was in the area, and that they were going to need to find where that ship was and remove them because they obviously have too much information that is needed. So, a lot of things to unpack in this episode. That was the end of the episode. A lot of things to unpack. So, the Empire wants to continue the cloning process, specifically for under their complete and utter control. Now, we've seen remnants of this, especially in The Mandalorian with Moff Gideon. But that being said, it is very unclear on where they are in the technology building of this. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Apparently, this particular creature that we saw was not a clone, but it seemed to have been enhanced in some way. So it is very unclear exactly what how unmanipulated this creature was. Is the best way to put it. So we know that there's the potential of obviously the Empire and specifically the Emperor wanting to build up the cloning technology to make it much better, obviously. Um, and we also know that the Empire is going to start looking for the Bad Batch because they're going to be looking for this specifically Omega to try to get the scientists to join forces with the Empire. So a lot going on. Overall, like I said, not a lot of action, not a lot of huge scenes that I thought were amazing, but I think story wise, it pushed the story significantly more than I was expecting and definitely enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please click on the eel. It'd be greatly appreciated. And also like the video too. But, preferably hit the eel. But that being said, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. So have a great night.